Hey, guys. Welcome to another episode of Cocktail Therapy Podcast. I got my girl with me today. Oh, my goodness. I'm so excited. This is on my list of people that I'm like, I got to have on my podcast. The lovely, the beautiful Naja Hall is here with me on today. I'm so super excited. Now, we kind of go way back because, we went to school together from Central. We are way back in the day, but and I've been just kind of watching you do your thing. And we're gonna talk, but first we got our drinks.
Yes.
What do we have? What are we drinking today? Oh,
I'm keeping it simple. I'm keeping it really simple because I didn't really eat a lot today. So I don't want to get here and say nothing crazy because I didn't got drunk with you. So I'm just keeping it simple. I have a screwdriver. I have regular vodka, I think Tito's and OJ with a little orange slice.
Yes. And I have a strawberry margarita today. I didn't get my little strawberry garnish, but that's what I have today. And of course, it's all the mixings with the lime juice, the lemon, I put a little triple sec in mine. And then, of course, tequila. And today I'm doing Reposado. So I'm doing Jose Cuervo Reposado today in my margarita. It's Taco Tuesday. That's just how I'm feeling Taco Tuesday-ish.
Yes.
So, yeah. So this is where we are. So I have my little strawberry margarita that I will be sipping on while we're having this discussion.
Nice.
And so Naja, I really want you to kind of like introduce yourself and kind of tell everybody like what you do. You do a lot. You out here. Look. So I just want you to give a little background about who you are. And
yes. Well, first, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored and I'm so excited, to talk to the hometown people. That's like, that keeps me going. So, hey, everybody, my name is Naja Hall. I'm born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee. I've been living in Harlem, New York City for 17, almost 18 years now. Professionally, full-time, I am a life coach. Never ever thought that this would be my field. I studied fashion in college, and I just, like a lot of people in their careers now, I just kind of ended up here. As she mentioned, I do focus and specialize on blended families, but my coaching has expanded to helping people in all types of conflict or helping you to resolve all types of conflict, because that's my specialty. Before you get ready to go to jail, before you get that restraining order, when the courts have not worked, when you spent all the money on lawyers, you come to me to help you to sift out some forms of humanity between yourself and the other partner, especially if it's a person that you have to deal with, like a co-parent or a sibling or a coworker. So I've expanded into helping you to kind of deal with those less than desirable personalities that you kind of don't have a choice with right now. I also host a podcast called I Know I'm Crazy with Naja Hall. I have a beauty business called Naja Hall Beauty. And we sell everything. Girl, I gotta send you some stuff. And I also co-host another podcast called Pants on Fire. So your girl has been kind of busy these days, but in a good way. Busy and blessed.
Yes. And I'm again grateful that you took the time out your busy schedule, because I've been watching Pants on Fire. So I've been like, oh my God. I really think you guys as a duo is amazing.
Yeah, we be fighting, but oh my God. It's fun. It's a fun gig.
Yeah. So make sure y'all check those out. Naja, we're just gonna get right into it. So first things first, you married your husband, and then you came up with this idea to start this group on Facebook called Blended in Black. Yes. And I was like, oh my goodness, you get some good nuggets from there, different people from different walks of life, different situations. What started that journey for you?
Well, it was I got in the blended family, or how it just starts off with, like it does for all of us in these circumstances. You meet a person, you fall in love, and then you start finding out all that they come along with, all the other parts of them that you might not necessarily love. And for me in this scenario, I fell in love with a divorced dad. And that means a divorced dad, that means there's children, there's other exes, there's other people that are in the family that may not necessarily readily embrace him having a new love or a new partner or starting over. And so I started to experience, now that I look at it, the typical conflict that the new girl experiences. The outdated terms like baby mama drama. And, I started to feel all of that. And I knew like the reason that I always said I didn't want to date or be with somebody that had kids previously is because I was like, I ain't got no kids. I'm single in the Sex and the City girl. I'm having fun.
Yeah.
It's just me. It's just me that I have to worry about. But
Mhm.
then, when you're with a parent, they have all these other responsibilities
They do.
and attachments. And
Yeah.
I was still very much in that selfish mode. And so I was like, all the money needs to come to me. All the attention needs to come to me. All the time needs to come to me, 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 me. And some of my greatest fears started to be actualized in that relationship because we did experience high conflict. Even in this group, Blended in Black, the group went viral
Yeah.
because we had a really bad day. God, it was like maybe 10 years ago at this point,
Mhm.
where some people that were not happy that I had started this forum broke into the group and called themselves trying to ambush it. And
Yeah.
that made the thing blow up. So what they meant to cause destruction and to defame me
Mhm.
really brought eyes to the group for people.
Yeah.
People were seeing what I was doing. And at
Yeah.
that time, I was not a coach. I was just a woman that was so confused, like, oh my God, I love this guy. He has kids. But there's a person out there that doesn't know me, a complete stranger that hates me just because I'm with them. And they're
Yeah.
going to try to make my life a hell of a lot harder because
Right.
of that. How do I
Right.
cope? And
Right.
so the group started attracting stepmothers and biological mothers and fathers and stepdads and the aunties and uncles and the support people, the grandparents that can no longer talk to their children, but when a breakup, their grandkids when a breakup happened, or even adult stepchildren. I love hearing from them. So it attracted people from all walks of life. And
Yeah.
people will come in and, be like, hey, I went to pick up and drop off today. I couldn't get my kid. And they would come in and vent and we would give them advice. And
Yeah.
the space started off as a forum just for us to talk, because, it's not easy. And it's just, it was a safe space for people that are going through the same thing that you're going through.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So, with the Blended in Black group, I'm a member of that group. So I remember some of these things that took place and happened. Uh, and I know we've had spirited debates about certain
Yes,
situations. Um,
always.
because everybody has different situations and everybody's situation is not the same. Um, one thing that I would ask is about the step parent situation. Um, a lot of times, I didn't have a very good. My dad remarried. I didn't have very good experience with my stepmom. I did not.
Yeah.
But that's his wife. I respect that. That's y'all do y'all thing.
Yeah.
But in a step parenting situation, what advice would you give to that new mom or new dad coming into a new situation where the kids have already established, they know their mom and dad and that's all they know. How would you kind of coach somebody through maybe tough a tough start in that
Yeah.
relationship or that situation?
Yeah. So, first of all, you have to recognize that you're coming into a ready-made system. Every family, my coaching is based off the family systems principle, meaning that every family in and of itself is a unique system. Every family, every household has its own culture. Some households, you see them sitting at the table at the end of the day and talking about, having dinner and talking about their days. Some families don't even look at each other. They go and close their doors and don't communicate.
Mhm.
Our family is a place where we first learn how to give love. We learn how to receive love.
Yeah.
We learn how to resolve conflict. So
Mhm.
you have to recognize you're coming into a system that was already running and going long before anybody knew you existed. They did not think of you as a part of the system. So just like you will with a new job, I always tell people when you go to a new job, you're not coming in trying to change the rules on the first day. You're going
Right.
to learn how the corporate culture, right? You're going to learn how does this thing work? Who's the gossip? Who is the person that does all the work? You're going to start to learn. So when you come in that new family system, first and foremost, you really need to just learn how things operate
Yeah.
before you start sticking your 2 cents in there. And with children, they might be skeptic because number one, they think, oh my God, are they trying to replace my mom or dad? Is this person going to threaten my position in my parents' life? So you do a lot of reassurance there. And when all else fails, obviously you don't, we should know this by now, but I'm going to say it for those that don't know. You don't insist that they call you mom or dad because you ain't their
Oh,
mama or
please don't.
daddy. But you just play the role of the cool auntie or uncle. If you're coming in as a step parent and you're dating their parent, play the cool auntie or uncle. You give them a few extra privileges. They can come, hopefully confide in you because they'll trust you and maybe come to love you one day. And
Yeah,
also mitigate your expectations. Maybe they're not going to love you. And that's okay too. Maybe they won't say, this is, like if anything, you want to build a relationship based on boundaries and respect with everybody in your blended family.
got you, got you, got you. Um, so I know there are some who have maybe they may not have been married, but the co-parenting situation, that's a big issue that we have, especially I know other cultures and other communities
Oh yeah.
experience that, but
Everybody crazy.
everybody
Everybody, every color. I don't care how much melanin you do or don't have.
everybody
I
crazy.
have clients all over the globe at this point.
Oh wow.
It's crazy as hell.
When it comes to them children,
There ain't one group that's crazier than the other. I could truly say that. White folk crazy, black folk crazy, Asian folk crazy, Latin folk crazy, Middle Eastern crazy, Asian crazy,
everybody crazy.
hot mess. Everybody.
We all crazy. So in a co-parenting situation, how do you deal with one parent not necessarily wanting to communicate and the other parent, it's all about communication. Communication is open, but it's really, really hard to break down that wall with that other parent. Like, how do you work through that?
First, let's identify why the parent does not want to communicate. If there's like an egregious situation where abuse happened and they've decided that they cannot have their co-parent or a counter parent, as I like to say,
Okay.
because some people ain't no co in
No,
this.
it ain't.
Then then okay, I get it. Like, let's just let that person stay in there, do their thing and heal how they need to. But if they are not communicating as a means to control and stonewall the other parent, you have to say, all right, I don't have a co-parent. I do have a counter parent. We're not in agreement on everything. We're not raising this child on one accord. When my kid comes to my house, they're my kid. I'm going to raise them how I see fit, and we're not going to intermingle. You call that parallel parenting. If your co-parent is refusing to communicate with you, the sooner you get it through your noggin and stop trying to force somebody to talk to you or deal with you or work with you that doesn't want to, and say, I'm parallel parenting, meaning we're not we're not intermingling, we're not crossing. We're literally parallel. We just share a kid. The better off it'll be for everybody. So just radical acceptance works so well in these high conflict situations. I radically accept that you're not going to communicate with me. I'm not going to try to force you. I'm not going to operate like I have a co-parent because I don't. I'm
Yeah,
going to do my own thing and set my own rules.
yeah,
That's the first thing. Letting go of that expectation of trying to force somebody to deal with you in that manner when they've shown you over and over again that they cannot or they will not.
yeah, yeah. How do you think it affects kids in certain situations? Like,
Mm,
um, I will I know we talked about the step parent coming in, but what if I've seen situations where the step parent will make a difference in the children. So for instance, me and my husband, we get married, we have a kid together, but he already came with a kid. And so I'm going to put my child up on a pedestal. I'm gonna do blah 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 blah. Why is it that people kind of seem like, mistreating the other child in a situation? Because children feel that, they understand, they
they
know
do.
when this person doesn't like them, this person not really rocking with them, they can kind of feel that. So how do you I feel like it's the other parent's responsibility to step in and say, hey, we're not going to do this right here. And a lot of times they don't, because they don't want to have to deal with the conflict, because they got to stay with the parent that's maybe mistreating the other child. So how do
Yeah.
you, I hate that, but how could you work through that situation? Like how was it? Because I know
And,
kids.
I think a good example, to kind of to spring from is you talked about, your father and your situation
Yeah.
where dad remarried. And I firmly believe dad should have set the foundation for the two most important women in his life, his baby girl and now his new spouse,
Hmm.
to get along and to merge. He
Right.
should have been instrumental in you guys forming some sort of bond. But there's also something that, as a parent, is this person showing interest in getting to know your kid, or do they see your child as an inconvenience? Does this person um, want to pour into your child and get to know them? Are they anti-child? Because we cannot be getting in relationships with people that are showing us like they'd rather not deal with our kid. Because
Yeah.
if you're a good parent, that means your kid is really part of the package.
Yeah.
I do think fathers have more levity, have more wiggle room as far as not having to consider what their partners like, because nowadays we're seeing dads do 50-50 custody and dads are super involved. But back in the day, the norm was you gonna get your kid every other weekend. That's 5 days a month. So yeah,
Mhm.
he's not gonna necessarily have to consider how his new partner feels because his kid is not around that much.
Right.
But when we're seeing like an active present father, um, does your person see your child as something valuable? Are they open and willing to love your kid? Are they willing to go through the hard parts, the rejection that comes along with step parenting, sometimes the disrespect that comes along with that? So, number one, I'm going to always look at the parent. Like I call that the man in the middle. The
Yeah.
man, and I'm talking about the guys here right now. If you're a stepmom, because I'm assuming it's a lot of stepmoms that are probably going to watch this.
Mhm.
Um, but if you are looking at that scenario and saying, okay, man in the middle, he has to manage his child's mother, his children, and his new person. And there's a
Yeah.
very special, very specific je ne sais quoi of a guy that's successful in that.
Mhm.
Beating around the bush and acting like being Mr. Avoidant is going to make everybody pissed off at one another and at him. So that doesn't work. Um,
Yeah.
the person that is, even if, for a mother, like if you're a single mom and you're wanting a date, but your kids aren't necessarily feeling your new partner, how can you facilitate? What activities can you facilitate to make sure that you're bringing your children and your new person together so that they can see the importance of getting along, if nothing else, just to respect you. And also, you got to make sure as an adult, we're the grown-ups here. Like I knew coming into this, if
Yeah.
it's going to be hard with the kids, I love him so much that I'm going to figure it out and make it work. I'm going to find what their interests are. Oh, my stepdaughters, they love doing hair and makeup. Well, Miss Naja, that's what I do. That's my
That is
thing.
you, baby. That is
Yes,
you
yes.
all the
So
way.
I found that to be a very easy way to connect. But you got to learn these kids' interests.
Yeah.
And if they reject you, it's not because you're a bad person. Their parent could be putting them in a loyalty bind and
Yeah.
alienating you, or
Yeah.
they could really just be skeptic and just be fearful. But
Yeah.
time should heal that wound. If time doesn't do its thing, then we know counseling works. We know intervention works. We know prayer works. There's so many things that we can do instead of just ignoring one another and having a house that is absolute hell and misery. I'm assuming, like you said, you didn't refer to your dad's wife as your stepmom. You said that's my dad's wife.
This my dad's wife.
So yeah, like that tells me that you don't have a certain connection with her. So either she did not have the tools to bring you in and make you feel like you were also hers,
Yeah.
or he just dropped the ball. And also I gotta, like, parents, we got to give ourselves grace because a lot of people just don't know how.
I don't think my dad knew how to handle the situation. Just being so just a little bit of background. I ain't going deep into it, but my dad got married when I was in college. Might have been
Oh,
my
you were
junior
already
year.
grown,
I
so
was already
that's
grown.
already more
They
difficult. And you
started
weren't.
dating. Yeah, they started dating maybe my freshman year in college. So I was already grown, but I had younger siblings. So I saw the change in how it went from when they started dating to she got engaged. So her attitude started changing towards my sister and brother to yeah. So it was kind of like
So
a
now it's
180.
like I'm the wife.
Yeah.
Y'all can go. I don't have to play
Yeah.
nice anymore.
That's how it was. So every
Oh,
once in a while we'll bump heads. Probably about 5 or 6 years ago, he went into the hospital. I don't have her telephone number. You change numbers. I don't get you don't call me. So I'm calling my dad, and it's like, why you keep calling his phone? Because I need to find out what's going on with my dad in the hospital. Like, what you want me to do? And so we had a little bit of a conflict. And I was like, hey girl, what's your number? Because we're not going back and forth. I'm not doing this with you. Give me your number so I can call you, find out what's going on, and we can go from there.
that's
It
always been my greatest fear. Like
Huh?
literal grown. That's not like straight up what you're saying.
Hmm.
That's always been my greatest fear. And I've told my stepdaughter that. I was like, we love your dad the most. Like, if something were to happen, I
Yeah.
would need to be able to, like, we at least need to have the rapport so we can communicate. And
Yeah.
thank God that exists. But
Yeah.
God,
Yeah. But it's
so
so
you
many
couldn't even get
situations.
in touch with your dad to find out what was going on with him.
I would talk to him, but he was in the hospital. He's sick. He's going through these changes or whatever that he's going through. And so I'm trying to figure out like what's going on and what needs to happen and that sort of thing. And really, for the most part, I'm a daddy's girl all the way through and
Yeah.
through. I just am. So if anything happened to my daddy, I'm gone. Not saying I don't love my mama. I don't want nobody to see this and be like, "Oh, girl, she got on there and said she a daddy's girl and she gonna
Yeah,
go."
but you have the privilege of being able to love both your parents.
Yeah,
Not everybody has that. Yeah.
yeah. So if something happens with my dad, I'm gone. I'm right there. I left that day. He was like, I'm going to the hospital. I said, you doing what? And he telling me what happened. I said, Daddy, you should I know I should have did it, but I'm here now. And so hey, I gotta go. I'm telling my boss, I gotta go. My dad in the hospital. I don't know what's going on, blah, blah, blah. So we going. We out. But during the whole process, I know it was a lot to keep calling him and bugging him, but I had no way of contacting her. So that was the thing with that. But we don't have that rapport, and I hate that we don't, but we don't have the rapport. And it's a number of other things I won't get into, but we don't have that rapport to for me to call her just to see how she's doing or to check on her, anything like that. For
Mm-hmm.
God forbid something happens to my dad, and I don't ever want that to happen to where I'm not able to be a lifeline for her if she needs something, and so on and so forth. So that's
Ooh.
the thing. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It
Let me
is.
ask you this, and I know this ain't why I'm here tonight, but um, because now that you and I are adults and we
Yeah.
recognize that as adults, a lot of the people that was grown folks to us, we realized they didn't know what the hell they was doing.
Mhm.
What is your responsibility in making sure that you are an intermediary for your dad? Like, what's your responsibility in building or just building something with this woman just so you can get to your dad?
I
Like
have
whatever y'all.
I've talked to my dad. I have talked to him. My dad is not a conflict person, if that makes sense. He doesn't like conflict. I don't really like conflict either, but if you bring conflict to my door, I'm gonna defend myself, right? My dad, he doesn't like arguing. He doesn't like the back and forth. He's just really laid back and really, really cool. So
Mm-hmm.
I've expressed some things to my dad to see if, like, maybe you can maybe talk to, your wife and see, what we could do to kind of bridge a gap, come together, that sort of thing. Um, but that I don't know if she's open to it. That's number one. So I don't know what conversations, if he goes back and say something to, his wife, I'm not sure what conversations they're having behind closed doors. I'm not sure.
Has
So
something pivotal happened to make her say, "I'm not interested in talking to this particular child of yours"?
I don't know. I won't know unless someone comes and says something to me to say,
So
hey,
on your end, there's no fight, argument, act of disrespect that's happened to where she can be like, "I'm not talking to her because this happened." So there's nothing
right.
like that.
No,
Oh,
I've never had a big conflict with her. I honestly feel like maybe because I'm close with my mom, that might be an issue. I'm not sure.
yeah.
And I know she's not particularly fond of my mom. My mom was, congratulated, girl, good job. You
But
got,
y'all were grown. You were in college,
I was in
so it's
college.
like, girl, and yo. So I'm assuming your mom and dad was long
My mom
done.
and dad, so I was 8 when my mom and dad got a divorce. My mom and dad are cool. Yes. My mom and dad, though, have been like homies. It was like divorce was the best thing that ever happened to them. They've been cool. They've been ace on cool.
Mm.
Nothing. My mom is not interested, had never been interested in rekindling anything with my daddy. They just have been cool and homies the whole time. They've been friends. So when
There's a lot of second wives. I'm a last wife, so don't get it twisted.
they
But
laugh,
there's a lot of that are very intimidated when a man has a good relationship with his
mhm,
child's mother or with his ex-wife.
mhm.
They would almost rather there be conflict and hatred
Yeah.
between them. But like there's an intimidation factor there. And so
Yeah.
I don't know if you look like your mom or you got your mama's mannerisms, but those things can be triggering if you're kind of insecure, or you have just an insecure nature in or you're insecure in your relationship.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure she's seen your dad show an affinity for your mother because they're cool. Like she's not causing any problems. So,
Mhm.
she's probably like, oh, let me just keep a distance. But I'm speculating.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I'm not sure if that's it either. I really don't know. But that's the only thing that I can come up with. And I do a lot of people do say I look like my mama. But but I don't know. There's nothing that I've been able to pinpoint per se because I wasn't in it. I would hear about certain things that would happen to my brother and my sister. And clearly, if you got a problem with my brother and sister, you got a problem with me. That's how I feel. You know what I'm saying? So I just if you're gonna be if this is my father's children and you coming into his life, you need to accept them like they're your kids too. That's how I feel. That's how I've always felt. I've always felt like there should be no reason or rhyme or reason to why people just can't get along. Like everything takes a conversation. I know it's easier said than done, but I feel like everything, have a conversation, get past whatever, and go. Don't mistreat children because at this time, when my brother and sister were kids at the time when this happened, right? So I don't want it to ever be a situation to where my siblings aren't being treated well and I can't do nothing because I'm away at school, right? I can't do nothing.
Yeah, you're feeling helpless now. You like what? And
Like
so you're probably calling him and her like, what?
what's going
What can
on?
we do?
What's the deal? Right. So I just and so they have probably a better relationship with her than I do because I'm not holding on to anything in the past. I just maybe I look the most like my mama. I don't know. I really have never been able to pinpoint exactly what the issue is. And I've always felt like, after they got married, there was an issue with me. So I really don't know. I
Yeah,
can't
and
think.
so there's never even been a conversation to
Mm-mm.
say, hey, can we sit and talk? Because there's
Mhm.
some layers that need to be
Yeah,
cracked through.
yeah, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it had
Mm.
it hadn't.
And so as the adult, because like your goal here may not necessarily be to have this beautiful blossoming mother-daughter relationship with your dad's wife, but I would think that you want to make sure because our parents are aging at this point.
Yeah.
Our parents are in this your parent mine are almost in their 70s. So it's
My
like,
dad's in his 70s. My mom is close to her 70s. So yeah.
yeah, so it's like
Yeah.
they're aging. So we need to be able to get in touch with their caretakers, with their team. We need to know about medications, like all of these things. And so, just even thinking about that, I'm like, okay, what is it that, like you said, communication with a co-parent. I'm thinking about you in your case, like what needs to happen so that you send an email or send a text to her and be like, I
Yeah.
want to talk to you because I want to build a rapport with you because
Yeah.
you got my dad.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
that got your kids. Like if you hate the person that got your kids, like we got to figure something out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
And I would be open to it. And I probably need to do a little better job on my
sooner
end.
than later
Figuring
though.
out.
Look,
Yeah.
sooner than later, I would say, because our parents ain't getting no younger, and I would hate for something catastrophic to happen, and you're not one of the decision makers.
Yeah.
Because you are younger, you have more access. If
Yeah.
dad went to the hospital, you're gonna be researching medications. You're gonna be on those
Mhm.
doctors' butts, like
Yeah.
unlike a woman that's in her 60s. So
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So let's move on. So uh I see a lot of conflict, and a lot of them may be skits online or whatever, but I see a lot of conflict between mother-in-laws and daughter-in-laws and father-in-laws and son-in-laws. It's a
ooh,
whole thing. Of course, they had a whole movie called Monster-in-Law with Jennifer Lopez.
yes.
And so I see real life situations that take place similar, not as extreme as Monster in Law, but I've seen situations where they might have wanted the son to marry another girl, or you see those situations all the time. And so if you had a couple that was coming in and those were the issues or the dynamic in that situation, what kind of advice would you give them, or what direction would you steer them in?
So if there was like a monstrous or a toxic mother-in-law,
Or father-in-law, because some
Okay.
father-in-laws don't like their son-in-laws. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, okay. First and foremost, I see that if this parent, this mother-in-law or father-in-law are toxic, or they are intrusive or abrasive or all up in your business, or don't respect the boundaries of your marriage or your households,
Right.
I do a lot of work with people that are dealing with individuals that have personality disorders. You know, we talk a lot about narcissism. We talk a lot about borderline personality disorder. Like, we
Right.
talk about these things that are basically untreatable. You can't medicate them away. Like, this is some real ish.
Right.
So the first foremost, I'm going to say, what type of stronghold does this toxic parent have over your spouse or your partner? Did they raise this kid to be super codependent? um so,
Mm.
like, that's one of the things that we have to consider when we got to look at, like, okay, what the heck is happening in that scenario. And then it's up to your partner to want to do the work, because you know what I see happening with the millennials. I'm
Mhm.
an older, I'm the very first year millennial.
Mhm.
But one thing that I see happening is with millennials, baby, they're saying, I'm going to go no contact with this toxic parent. Is
Right.
your spouse willing to admit, my parent is unhealthy? They don't respect boundaries. They don't respect me. My marriage is not going to work because of them. And they've always been like this. And so I
Yeah.
have to put some distance in between them. Like,
Wow.
is your spouse able to do that? And
Yeah.
that's tough. That's a hard
Yeah.
thing to do for a person, because if you have a parent with a personality disorder, more than likely they've raised you with some codependency. They've
Mm.
made you a little bit dependent on them, so that you're not able to fortify and separate from them. So that means you got to get your partner. If you see that your partner has a situation, they got to be in some sort of counseling.
Yeah.
They have to be.
Yeah. All righty. So, I'm trying to think of where I want to go next. We
So we
talked
were
about.
just talking about, just as far as an
Yeah.
in-law and dealing with an in-law. It's so frustrating because that's your person's parent. It's one thing if they have a child that has conflicts or
Yeah.
problems or whatever, but the parent, the person that cultured them, raised them, if they do have a toxic parent, this means this parent has enmeshed themselves
Mm.
with your particular partner.
Yeah.
And so, what type of stronghold does the parent have on the partner? And typically that's something that we see before we get married. But a lot of us think, oh, it'll change.
Right.
No, if your partner has a toxic parent, and this parent has enmeshed themselves, and they have like this codependent thing, as I mentioned before, happening, it's going to be very tough to break that. So
Yeah.
do you even want to be in a situation like that? I personally would not.
Got you.
I personally wouldn't. But love makes us do things. Love makes us think that we can conquer the impossible. So getting your partner to see that their parent is harmful and selfish and self-centered and does not wish them the best, because even if we look at all the holy books, they
Yeah.
teach us to honor our parents for
Yeah.
sure, but we're
Yeah.
not expected to be their life partners. That's just not how it goes. We're expected to go off and build our own if our
Right.
parents have done the right things by us. So,
Yeah.
having that type of in-law, that's a special kind of hell, because they're intrusive. They might keep in touch with an ex. I built an entire course because I saw so many people in blended families, so many stepmothers in particular. They had a toxic mother-in-law who
Mm.
now became friends with the toxic ex. So it's like the two of them are teaming up. This
Oh,
woman is teaming up against her son
yeah.
and teaming up with the baby mama to give this man a special type of hell. And the mother-in-law will play like, oh my God, I just want to stay in touch with my grandchildren, and she won't let me talk to the kids, and I'm so afraid. She'll play helpless
Yeah.
or she'll be the waif.
Yeah.
And the mother will basically have a partner in crime. So it's like two of these people. And so what you got to do, you got to make sure you cut everybody. Like, unfortunately, a man in that scenario, when these two toxic Tammys link up, ultimately in the course, spoiler alert, there's nothing he's going to be able to do, because guess what? More than likely, once you start psychoanalyzing yourself and opening up that head of yours, this
Mhm.
is your mother is probably the reason why you chose that ex in the first place. Your mother and the control that she exhibited on
Over.
you and over your life is why you were attracted to a woman just like her in the first place. So it's natural that they become friends now. So now you've escaped from your ex. You see what she's doing to you? Now it's time for you to escape from that toxic mother as well. So that's, we don't see that too much in father-in-laws being intrusive and embracing. We mostly hear it from mother-in-laws, but there's some overzealous father-in-laws too. But we see the issue with the moms, with the
No.
women.
What so the disrespect from a spouse or a mate towards a parent, because let's flip that around. I have seen that as well. I actually broke up with a guy. Um, when I graduated from college, I had a son, my oldest son, Josh, at the time. I graduated from college. Right after that, I had him, and I had started dating again. And so I'm out, doing my thing. I meet this guy, I think he's cool. Okay, cool. At this time, the phones was free after a certain time.
9 o'clock or 7 if you pay extra. That
Right,
shows our
right,
age.
right. So I wasn't just like on my cell phone macking. We had a house phone. Uh, and I was still living at home with my mom at the time. Um, and the guy called, he was like really disrespectful to my mama. And I'm sitting, my mom and I watching something on TV, and I'm hearing him. So, like, you can't lie and tell me you weren't being disrespectful. So I broke up with him because
Immediately.
my mom, because he didn't even want to apologize. I was like, just apologize to my mom. Why should I have to apologize to your mama? I was like, no.
You know what? The fact that he did it in the first place, and I don't, I've never experienced that, but I was with a friend of mine, and I was out with one of my girlfriends, and we went to the movies, and one of her homeboys was in the video, and I was making the video. I was like, "Hey, don't cuss in the video. My mom and dad are on my Facebook. Don't fuck that." And he was like, "Fuck them," and I was like, "Who raised you?
Right?
You're an animal." Like, but one thing that taught me, and I'm always reminded, people grew up in foster homes, group homes, on the street.
Yeah.
He might not respect women. And I just had to remind myself, like, not everybody sees the world like you, Naja. Not everybody shows a deference to their parents. Not everybody had good parents worth showing deference to.
Right.
I'm so glad you got away from that fool. Because that sounded like, if he would speak to your mother like that, oh my God.
No, absolutely not. And so he was like, "So we gonna break up because your mama?" I said, "No, it's not because of my mom. It's because you were
It's
disrespectful
because of you, right? It's because of you and your attitude towards women, and I'm scared of you now. If a man has a nasty attitude toward a woman, I'm afraid of you. I cannot talk to you. I cannot counsel you. I can't be your friend. Like, we can't go to drinks. Like, you can't come over. Like, none of that.
Right?
Absolutely not. I'm afraid of you. You're harmful. You're literally embodying all of the nasty things about patriarchy, which is why the world is imploding to this very day, because you don't respect women who are the gods and the center. That's a whole nother conversation, though. This the vodka that kicked in, girl.
So in that situation, because I see a lot of guys that are now relationship gurus, and they get on these podcasts and these different places. I hate certain situations. I hate seeing certain situations because it's like, so basically what you're saying is you don't like women. Like, but you want a woman as a partner, but you don't like them. Like, make that doesn't make sense to me.
How a woman as a nursemaid, a wet nurse, a sex worker, a nanny, but you don't see a woman as something worth being in partnership with you. Like the Romans used to do. The Romans would partner with younger people of the same sex, younger boys.
Yeah.
And they would use women to carry their babies because the women were the incubators. So I see a lot of the podcast bros. I'm like, oh, you're just like Roman in today's times. Yeah. Like, a lot of those dudes, like, you see these beautiful Roman statues. I've been to Rome. It's a beautiful place. But when I learned about the air of how they so much disrespected women that they did not even see them worthy of something worth having sex with and being with in a romantic sense. Yeah. They said a woman was incapable. They're so inferior. A lot of dudes, well, not a lot, because I don't know a lot that think like this. Right. But the ones that think like this do go buy those cheap ass microphones and talk about it online. At me if you got a problem with what I said.
No, you're fine. You good.
Mm-hmm. They gonna say something about that though, and that's perfectly fine. I welcome the smoke.
Yeah, but I think that there are guys out here that haven't like dealt with certain issues that they may have, And I really think that something is deep rooted in how they deal with women and how they treat women in
Yeah.
relationships, or just in life in general.
And is it because you blame your mother? Like for the guys out there, I would implore you, is that because you blame your mom? Or is that the absence of your father to where your mother was the only one that you felt loves you and she wasn't enough? Because she was at work all day. She was busy. She had to have 2 and 3 jobs because daddy did not find you. And you think that dad didn't find you valuable enough. So you punish the person that was present. We see that happening so often.
Yeah.
I saw a thread. I'm on threads. I don't know if you know if you have a thread
Mhm.
page, but this one lady was like, "Men only. Do you blame your mother for your dad leaving? And how is your relationship with your dad now?" And a lot of it was there wasn't the comments were scary because they blamed the parent that stayed. They blamed the parent that was there doing the day in and day out work, and they got to see the one that was away as his fantasy as a superhero. They never got to see him as an imperfect being,
Yeah.
tired, hungry, cold, broken, not able to pay a bill. They got to see him. He was a fantasy to them. So they
Yeah.
developed this fanatical relationship with the absent parent. And then the one that was there became like the throwaway, the whipping boy, the beating stick. And that's something they got to talk to their therapist about. This is why I would never encourage a woman to marry a man unless he's been to therapy by himself. As a coach, I have therapists that work for me on my
Yeah.
team. The one thing that we all can agree with is a lot of dudes, a lot of guys, and I'm talking about heteronormative relationships.
Yeah.
A lot of guys have not been to sit on somebody's couch unless some woman dragged them. Their very first time is couples counseling. So they've already screwed up a relationship, messed up a woman's mental health,
Right.
years of her fertile years, and now they're sitting on the couch. When you start seeing somebody, you need to make sure that beforehand they've already gone to do the work for themselves. But unfortunately,
That ain't how
most
that go.
people are not even edified or equipped to even know that that's something that they need to do because they think they're fine, and they're not.
And they're not.
They're not.
Wow. That's crazy.
Building
Um,
broken homes, breaking women, wasting people's years,
in
like
time.
and time. A woman's time in her 20s and 30s, I feel, are far more valuable and costly than
Yeah.
a man's.
Yeah.
Because we have certain things that are ticking in us
Yeah.
that a man doesn't have to worry about.
Yeah. They don't. Um, Let me switch over to friendships. A lot of people don't feel like friendships are relationships too, and they are. I coined that phrase from it was a podcast that I used to watch where they talked about Insecure. I love that show. It's one of my favorite shows. And when Issa and Molly fell out, like this girl kept saying friendships are relationships too, y'all just don't want to believe it. And I do. It's a relationship. I think it's even more sacred, in some instances than a romantic relationship, because that's like a bond that you just, I feel like shouldn't be broken. A lot of times we find sisters and brothers in people that weren't blood, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes I feel like family is sometimes who you choose, not necessarily that blood. Now, y'all family, I love your entire family. And I love you guys' bond. I
Thank
just love
you.
how y'all have just
We
y'all
have a
are,
good time together. We
yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah. Y'all have a great bond. And I'm gonna touch on family in a minute, but with friends, I see a lot of, especially women. I do see men fall out, but I see a lot of women falling out with one another, and I hate that because I really love sisterhood. Like I really love to see sisters doing a thing. I love us celebrating one another. I know, there's a little bit of competition here and there, especially if you're in a certain industry, but I think it's enough money out there for everybody to make, right?
That's
So
enough out here for all of us to
for
eat
all of us.
well.
So I just feel like a lot of times, if somebody feels like you kind of stepping in their little arena, or stepping on toes in certain situations, they feel some type of way. I see a lot of it, and I see a lot of it being displayed on social media, even with the beefs with like some of the girls. Like I noticed poor Nicki fall out with everybody. I love Nicki Minaj. I love all the lady. female rapper. But Nicki fall
Who?
out with everybody, and I just be like,
Can we
sis,
talk about that for a second though? Can we
yeah,
like
yeah,
can we like I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and I remember when Nicki Minaj first entered the scene, and she was just talking. She was posturing herself like she was hurt that Little Kim didn't embrace her as this
right.
up
I
and
know she.
coming newcomer. Like she, and rightfully so. If Lil Kim really did ignore her and shush her, Nicki was like, "Yo, I idolize you," and that's why one of my favorite quotes is, "Don't meet your idols, don't meet your
Oh my
heroes,
God,
because you're
you'll
gonna
be
be disappointed.
disappointed every
Don't
time.
meet your heroes, you're gonna be disappointed." So she had a chance to encounter somebody that she literally was the blueprint for her whole joint, right?
Yep.
And then Kim did not embrace her, and maybe Kim shunned her. Kim probably felt like she didn't kiss the ring or bow down. I don't know. I don't know what the whole beef was.
I know the background story behind it, but
Yeah.
Kim, Kim didn't do that right. Kim is wrong in this. Now that I see the whole picture, and when
Mm-hmm.
Kim told her side of the story, Kim was wrong. And I love look Kim.
Oh.
Kim was wrong.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The people she should have been mad at were the producers. Kim was wrong.
That were probably trying to pit them against one another.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
like I didn't really see when I think of the greats in our community, the Tina Turners, the Patti LaBelles, the Aretha Franklins,
yeah.
with the new girls coming in, they didn't really have a lot to say about the new girls. In some cases, they collaborated with the new girls, yep. Because they realized my time, I'm iconic now. I'm an icon. This girl is up and coming and she's rising. But there's like a certain level, and this is I've had some older women mentors that turned out to be competitors.
Yeah.
And I didn't even see it because I'm like, yo, I look up to you. I'm not trying to compete with you. I don't see myself on the same level. But when they see you're making this ascension, they see you as a competitor. Yeah. And, I don't know if that's what happened with Kim and Nicki, or, producers got in the way of them having this mother-daughter, auntie, niece, big sister, little sister relationship. Because that's what they're not that far in age, by the way.
They're not.
How old is Lil Kim?
Kim is around our age, maybe.
Nicki is our age.
Is Nicki our age?
Yes, Nicki is our.
She's still in her 30s. Is she in her 30s or 40s?
Let me see.
Yeah. So and real quick, I'm just gonna run down the little back here. So Nicki
Minaj is 42, December 8th, 1982. She's 42. Yeah, I'm 43. So it's like
Kim, they really not that far apart in age, because Kim is about.
Let me see how old Lil Kim is. Lil Kim
might be a little older, maybe.
Let me see. Little Kim. Lil Kim is 50 years old. Oh so there's not like this is literally a big sister, little sister. This is not even an auntie niece situation.
No.
So, when you look at it, I never saw Aretha Franklin commenting. That's not an example because she was a queen of shade.
Maybe but, she's the shade, honey.
Yeah. But like a Tina Turner, she collaborated and did a show with Beyonce. When Tina was like 70, Beyonce was 20 something. Like, these women seem to be able to pass the torch and say, I'm going to sit on my crown. I'm going to sit on my throne and relax because I've paid my dues and I've done the work. But we didn't see that. And now with Nicki, we're not seeing that. Like with older women,
So Kim, this is real quick what happened. Kim, the whole thing that Nicki came out with the starships and all of that little teeny bop stuff that she initially came out with, that kind of catapulted her to pop, so now she can do what she wants to do. They had that roadmap for Kim when Kim got out of jail. She was talking about collaborating with Cash Money. They had already laid out this whole blueprint. Kim had recorded some of the songs, as a matter of fact. And I heard Kim tell this story on The Breakfast Club. And because I
did see that interview.
Yeah, they asked her like, "Yo, why the beef with Nicki?" And so she basically said the same producers or the same people that were gonna bring her in to collab with her, they took the stuff that they were gonna do for her and gave it to Nicki. Basically, was the story. Yeah. Oh. And so I was like, so Kim, you're wrong. I love you, but you're wrong, because you shouldn't have beef with this girl. All this girl did was took an opportunity, which you would have done if you were in her shoes.
Immediately. What you was about to do. Yeah. So and also looking at the younger videos of Nikki, she was uber talented. She
Yeah,
was a genius in her
yeah,
lane, as was Kim. Nikki
yeah,
was a great lyricist and known to write her own music. No
yeah.
shade to any of the girls now, but then
Right.
seeing Nikki step off her throne and accuse the younger girls of not kissing the ring, just like we saw happen with her, that was a little disheartening. I
It
don't
was
believe,
very disheartening.
like now, like if I have a younger woman that comes to me and needs help, I don't see her as a competition. She
Yeah,
might surpass me and run circles around anything that I've
yeah,
ever done. But you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make sure that she does it. I'm gonna make sure it was way easier for
yeah,
her.
yeah,
But that's like you said, there's enough out here for all of us
yeah,
to eat.
yeah. So I hate to see that. I hate to see when the girls are fighting. I don't like to see that at all. I hate looking at the beefs. And I understand how rap beefs work. I totally understand how it goes. But she's taking it a little further than I would have liked to have thought that she
I
would
mean,
have
at this
taken.
point, I see Nicki probably beef with Cardi B, who was up and coming at one point.
Yeah.
Um, what's this little? Is it Lotto? Was she a big Lotto? I
Big
seen
Lotto.
she's. I
Yeah.
mean, I basically saw Weedy. I don't know the younger girls' names, but I've seen her have beefs with every single one of
Everybody.
them at this point.
Yeah.
So then,
She fell
it
out
kind
with Megan. Fell out with Megan.
of came out
Yeah.
with one of the most catastrophic, horrific, disgusting ways.
Yeah.
When that girl's mother's gravesite got doxxed, when that's when we go to, I was like, now you're being disgusting.
Her.
Now you're
And
being
she
disgusting.
teamed up with the best friend. And I understand the situation with her and the best friend. But
Yeah.
still, like, why would you? That doesn't even make sense. Why would you do that?
I was like, wait a minute. So now we're talking about going defaming, defacing her mother's gravesite. That's a different level of hurt and pain that
Yeah.
I still can't comprehend that.
Yeah.
Cause it's like this girl lost a parent.
She
Like
lost her
she
mom.
lost her mom and you telling people to go over there and what, piss on her mom's grave.
And they
Um,
and
that's when
what
it was I was done. I was like, all
yeah.
right,
What's
I'm here.
really crazy to me, especially about Megan's situation, she lost her dad, she lost her mom, she lost her grandma.
The girl ain't got nobody. I
Ain't got
watched the
nobody.
documentary. You
Yeah.
can see how lonely she is. She's got all these strangers that don't even look like her around
Yeah.
her.
Around her. Because she
And you
can't
can
trust the ones that look like her.
look what they've done.
Yeah.
Shot her in the foot, testified against her.
Hmm.
Like it's hard. The ones that
It
were her
is.
day ones. So the documentary did a good job of making us sympathize with Meg. I already did before that, but when I saw it, I was like,
Yeah. It was
damn.
hard
I,
to
I
I
just
was
prayed
like,
for
oh
her.
God. Yeah.
It was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough. Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So we talk about friends, family. I see this a lot too. You're dating somebody and your family just can't get with them at all. They just cannot. They like, nah, girl, you need to do better. You need to be with somebody else. This, that, and the other. How do people navigate that? Because if I find a person that I love, I truly love, they love me. And to me, I think the only thing that really, really matters is if this person loves and cares about me. If that person doesn't love and care about me, I could understand your concern. But if this person really loves and cares about me, why the hate? Why the stuff coming my way? Like how why is that an issue?
Yeah. I think when you said something very pivotal. Why do you have a problem with it if my partner loves and cares about me? Our families that love and respect us, they want to see us be the presidents of the world. They want to see us to be the ones that cure cancer and do all of these grand things.
Right.
And when you get with someone that they see as not deserving of you, because you got to remember, if you come from a brood of people that support you and center you, they want the best for you. They want better for you than you want for yourself, which
Yeah.
is why we see families sometimes not approving of a partner that maybe doesn't work. Maybe it's not living up to their full potential. Maybe
Yeah.
that they feel is not on your same caliber.
Yeah.
So it's, one thing as a family member, that's why I say, as a friend even, I'm like, girl, if that's how you see yourself, because I firmly believe we date people that are a reflection of us. We
Mm.
date at the level by which we see ourselves. So if you're
Mm.
dating a dude with no job that's dropping you off at work every day
Ooh,
and
Jody.
riding your car around every day. This is on your own self-worth and how you see yourself. Because I know some women that would not even look, they would be repulsed at the scent of a man that was not gainfully employed and not able to pull himself up by his bootstraps and do the things. But there's some women that were like, well, I see his potential. So that's all in a self-worth issue. So the family's issue should not necessarily be with should not be with your partner. They should be with you and say, girl, how do you look at yourself to be with a guy like that? You don't value yourself. Where's your self-respect? I
Yeah.
did not start defining self-respect until I was in my late 30s. And I saw that I spent a lot of my 20s and 30s in those early relationships not understanding my value, lowering my value, or thinking that I was devalued to where my self-respect was not where it is now.
Yeah.
So that's why we allow people like that in our lives, in our bodies, in our beds, in our energy fields.
Yeah. 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 When families are beefing, because I see this a lot too, and it doesn't have to be over your mate or who you're, but
Man,
it
this
could
vodka
be
strong as a Lord.
he made your drink too strong. Look,
Strong as a mother egg.
he
Yeah.
was heavy handed.
Oh my God. I
Um,
got some water right here. Let me drink my water.
yeah, drink your water.
Let me drink my water.
So I see it a lot. There are different dynamics. You have dynamics where there's someone who's the baby of the family, who's spoiled, who kind of try to get their way. You got somebody who, I know they say the oldest child thinks they're the manager of the family, and I be like, and cause we are.
And do. Also the firstborn. And do.
Right.
We
And
are.
right. And then you always have that middle child that kind of feels like they lost in translation, that sort of thing. And so it causes rifts in certain family dynamics, and it causes different things. Some kids feel like the mama or the daddy may not have paid as much attention to them, and you do see that. I see in single parent households there may be one child that they feel is stronger than the other child, so they pay the other child a little bit more attention, and they don't understand how that makes that strong child feel. So I see a lot of those situations going on. When is it too late to get family counseling, and when everybody grown and gone? Like how?
So I think counseling is the most effective when the people sitting on the couch recognize that something is off and they have a desire for a change.
Okay.
Because it's so hard. Have you ever tried to pull a mate into counseling and they don't want to be, they're sitting there like, oh, they're rolling their eyes and
Right.
they kind of don't want to be there. But could you imagine how effective it is when you have a group of people that are saying, we know we love each other, the love is there. We want to change the systems. We want to do better and be better. And I desire change. So I'm going to do the work.
Yeah.
Like that is, like for me, that's ideal clients. When I get couples clients, there's always one person that really, really wants it to work. And there's another person that's just there so they don't get fined. And, that makes it a little bit more difficult. But in family scenarios, the people that want it to work, they're the leaders. They're the ones that want to elicit change.
Got you. I'm gonna ask you this. This is a little off kilter. I asked someone this question at a dating panel recently. Relaxing your standards. So I am very much the person who I do not, if it does not serve me, I do not stay.
Okay.
I may put up with it for a little bit of time, but for the most part, I'm out. Like, oh,
Good.
okay,
I love it. I
we've
love
talked
that.
about this. This ain't working out, so let me exit stage left because this ain't working for me. Um, there was a situation where I was dating a guy, and he was totally not my type, like at all. Some things that it was like deal breakers for me. One of my homegirls was like, "Girl, you just have too many things. Like you need to give it some time, give him a chance. Like kick back.
Oh
You just
goodness.
bruh."
That's always the ugh.
So, and that person was like, gung ho for this person until they couldn't be gung ho no more because the person just was like horrible. So my question is, when is it okay to relax said standards? And I'm not saying relax them to where the deal breakers are broken,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes we have an idea of who we want in our heads, and so that we can find somebody, whatever that idea is. I don't know if sometimes people think that they're going to be able to change the idea or whatever that seems to be. Um, and so a lot of people, you hear a lot of people say you should relax your standards because your standards are up here and most people are down here. I hear that a lot. And I really hear that a lot. Not maybe not necessarily towards me. Some people have said that about me, but I see that because I think about what was that movie, Daddy's Little Girl, where
With Gabrielle
Gabrielle
Union
Union,
and Idris, that
yes,
movie. Okay.
right, yeah, when her friends was like, girl, and she was like, y'all tried to hook me up with a 40-year-old rapper, like what the them ain't. I remember she was at the dinner table and she was like, how do you fold it, shawty? I was like, oh my god, it's like the way, but it's people out here like that
Yeah.
wanna date.
Oh, 100%.
And then I'll be like, but my guy, you don't have a car or you don't have a job. Or
You have nothing to offer
you have
but
nothing to offer anybody.
trauma.
Right. So when is it okay to relax standards and when is it okay to not? I am of the opinion that when you relax your standards, that things
You in
go awry.
trouble.
That's just my
Yeah.
thought process because there's every time that I have, it's been very few times, but every time I've given someone a chance or an opportunity, they have proven me right. Like I should have
They
walked
proving you like
away.
I should not have.
Right.
So relaxing your standards, I think you're saying it in a really fancy way, but I really feel like what you should be saying is lowering your
Okay.
standards.
All right.
And the first and foremost is I think a lot of us, myself included, when I say us, I'm not excluding myself. Like we
Right.
lead with our ego. We lead with
Okay.
that inner thing that needs to be seen. That I believe firmly everybody got a little bit of narcissism in them.
Just a little
Everybody,
bit. Okay.
everybody, you got some people got a little touch. Some people they lead with that.
Yeah.
Um, but like you were saying, relaxing your standards. Let's just say, for example, if a woman's like, I'm not gonna be with a man unless he can pay all my bills. Um, he could take me on 3 vacations a year, and yeah. But it's like, can you afford to do that for yourself? The
Right.
standards that
Right.
you're holding another person to, can you do this for yourself?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, okay, well, why do you feel that the things that you could not do for yourself, another person besides your parent when you were a minor should be doing those things for you?
Right.
And this is where our ego needs to step aside and be like, I need to be for real with myself. Like, do I give what needs to be gave
Right. Right.
to deserve those things for me to even say that? And for a
Yeah.
lot of us, the answer is no.
Yeah.
For a lot of us, the answer is like, I'm not willing, or I don't know how to even expend the energy to do those things or to demand something like that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, so why do you demand things like that? Like I asked a lot of people that have particular standards. There was somebody that I knew that was like, if I'm not with a multimillionaire, then I'm not, that can have me a nanny. I want my children to be, there's a private school that I see that's $60,000 a year. I want my children to be in that. I need to have a nanny. I need to have multi-millions of dollars. You need to be able to do this. This is what I want for myself. And I'm like, okay, so you are 36 years old. You're a Black woman. Unfortunately, some of the statistics, which I don't really know how to numbers, hate repeat
Right.
numbers because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
know. But they
Yeah.
say Black women are 3 times less likely to marry after a certain age. So when I look at that, I would never tell a woman to lower her standards, but I would say, I do think you should be more realistic and move your ego out of the way to see what can you get. And the first question I would ask is, have you had a multimillionaire that could pay this much money for the kids' private school and give you this much budget a month and take
Yeah.
you on this mini? Have you had that before? No,
Yeah.
you haven't? Okay. So where did you get this idea from? Is this something you saw on TV? What are your influences? Again, we're moving our egos out of the way and we're being very realistic with ourselves.
Right.
Once we move our egos out of the way and we realize that the media has influenced us heavily and kept us
Mhm.
single, and we realize that single unhappy people are the ones that we're listening to that are giving this advice. And then
Mhm.
also a bit of our own egos that are misplaced, making us see ourselves in a way that's not hyper realistic.
Yeah.
I agree with a little bit of delusion. The Lulu is a Salulu. I agree with that. But when you're so delusional to the point to where you're foregoing decent
Yeah.
men,
Yeah.
good potential partners, he might not be the CEO of the company, but
Right.
he owns his own business and he's been fixing cars for 20 years. He owns it. He owns his mechanic shop. If
Yeah.
you see that as low, then I can't help you, baby. You need to
I
go get you some. I can't like I
hate.
it's tough for me to even be adjacent to and call myself a friend of a woman that would overlook a good man because she's
Yeah.
waiting on that big fish that is not checking for her, that is not wanting her, and that is in a very small percentage that she does not have access to.
Yeah. Yeah. I hate that too because I just don't. I just feel like, yeah, basic things. And a lot of times we won't. I see me and one of my homegirls talk about this all the time. It's a lot of things that we just want bare minimum of, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And
Bare
we don't.
minimum. That's different from gargantuan expectations that
Right.
you've never touched or smelled before. You've seen it on
Yeah.
TikTok. Now you want it. I want him to buy me red bottoms
Yeah.
every week. Well, what's your key influence?
Did have you ever bought you a pair of red bottoms?
Have
That's
you
what
bought one?
I
Did
would
your
ask.
dad buy you
Yeah.
some?
Yeah.
Did a rapper that you met in Miami on spring break buy you some? Or
Right.
is this something that you think you deserve because you saw somebody else doing it? Like we gotta get realistic about our
Yeah.
expectations.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's been my whole thing. So I don't say, oh, I want a millionaire. He got to do this. He got to do. But I just
Yeah.
can I get a date? Can I get flowers
Can-
there once in a while? Can I get some
right.
chocolate?
Hell yeah.
Can we go out for my birthday? We ain't gotta go to Miami. We can go to the cabin for the weekend. These are just the basic things that I would like. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Hmm.
In a relationship. Um, and a lot of I hear a lot of women say, well, that's bare minimum. And I'm like, well, girl, when you date the people that I have dated,
Then you say, well, wait a minute. I do like bare minimum is if I call you, call me back the same day.
yeah,
Don't wait 3 days to call me back. Like
right,
that's bare minimum. That means do we communicate the same?
yeah,
And if you see somebody does not communicate the same with as you do, they got like they gotta go.
yeah,
They it's not a they, this doesn't mean they don't respect you. This means they were cultured and taught to communicate differently, and it's just not going to work. Do you really want to teach a grown ass man how to call you back? I want to teach a grown man how I like my steak. I like it medium, not medium well, not
right,
medium rare, rare, rare. I like my steak medium. Like that's the things, that's my bare minimum. That's what I want to teach you. I want to
yeah,
tell you one time, this is how I expect it because
yeah,
this is what I project. This is what I give.
yeah,
But if we're talking about a phone call or taking you to a cabin and they don't get the point or they can't afford it, nah.
yeah,
Then no, we gotta keep it moving.
yeah,
Also, I'm gonna say this, and my husband is not gonna like this, but because I do see the glaring statistics that pretty much tell and try to reinforce to Black women that they are destined to be single. You know why? The statistics show that Black women are 3 times less likely to marry or remarry in their lifetimes. Is because Black women are very committed to being with a certain type of man that has shown that he's not necessarily committed to being with her. So when you start, because you know who's the most committed that I saw? The 92% of Black women that voted for the Black uh, presidential candidate. And what was it, like 69% of white dudes that voted? Like Black women and white men are very, American speaking, are very committed to their thing. So, I see this. And if Black women are less likely, I firmly believe, and I don't know what the studies show, but when you start to veer outside of your expectations, then you increase your likelihood of finding a partner. When you say, I will date, I am interested, or open to partnership with one other than an African American man or
I
someone
keep
from the
saying
diaspora.
it. I said that. I was saying this to one of I do a and I don't know if we're doing it tonight or not. He told me it had to be a little later. We do Talk to Me Tuesdays every Tuesday night. And so I told him, and he laughed, but I was serious. I said, "Hey, I'm about 1 to 2 Negroes away from going on over there to see what the Asians,
It
the
should have
Latinos,
happened.
the
It should have
white,
happened ago. It
yeah,
should have happened five past.
yeah,
Because at this point we're just expanding our probability of finding partnership,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that means sometimes it won't always be with a person that has your same heritage, because maybe he's not in proximity to you, maybe
yeah,
he's off somewhere, or
yeah,
maybe he's just you don't know that.
yeah,
So I would hate to see a person missing out on the love of their life just because they don't look like them,
yeah. I
especially a
told,
woman,
and
especially
I've
a
gone
black
out.
woman.
Yeah, and I've gone out with this was my freshman year in college. This man, I was in the mall, I was going down the escalator, he was going up the escalator. He said, "Oh my God." And I was like, "Who are you talking about?" I'm going on down my business. This man ran down the escalator to ask me out on a date. And I was like, "Oh, he was fine. He was fine."
Mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm.
and we knew he didn't have he didn't have a lot of time. He was a firefighter, so he didn't have a whole bunch of time. But
Yeah,
I was like, I went out on a date with a white man. It was a little different for me.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, it was different in the fact that, okay, because like I said, culturally, each household has their own deal. When I go to my house and my parents, we got our own language in our
yeah,
household. I go to my cousin's house; their house has their own smell. They have
yeah,
their own favorite foods,
yeah,
favorite TV shows.
yeah,
It's the same thing with another ethnicity
yeah,
or another race or whatever, however we're going to position it.
yeah,
So, it feels strange and it feels different. And it almost feels like, because every other woman I know is willing to date outside of that which she sees.
yeah,
I live in New York City, so I'm in a
yeah,
melting pot. That means some of
yeah,
my best friends are white girls, Asian girls, Latino girls,
yeah,
Middle Eastern girls. And I hear, we talk, they're open to it. Um, but as far as us, we're far less open to
yeah.
something like that. But we are far 3 times less likely than all those girls I just named
To
to
get
find
me.
a husband and a
Wow.
life partner. And that scares me for
I
us,
gotta. I
because we're
think I need
committed
to
to something
change
that's not committed to us.
up. I think I got to change up. Okay. You have enlightened me.
You got to
Naja.
open. I think, change is cool, but expansion is even better.
Yeah.
You got to expand so that you can increase the probability.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Well, we're gonna wrap this conversation up. But I have been enlightened. I think I'm gonna go ahead and dip my toe in the water,
When
huh?
you get on your dating apps, then
Mhm.
you check the other boxes, and just see how it makes you feel, and then be open to, because this is cases where you got to learn how to cook a different type of cuisine. You got to learn a different language. You might have to go visit another country for the holiday because their
Yeah.
family is Italian, or
Yeah.
like my first time in Italy, I felt like literally like a celebrity, because
Wow.
those Italian men love us,
Okay.
but it's just,
Italy is on my list. Look.
oh my God. Oh my God. When you go to these small European countries, because you can get to everywhere in Europe in 45 minutes. It ain't that big. It's,
Okay.
for them to be a global, the country that caused colonization and effed up the globe, they're
Yeah.
really tiny.
Okay.
So, but it's just like going and seeing that human beings are like, we're literally all like us. And I know Dr. Umar ain't gonna like this. I know the podcast bros are not gonna like this, but it's like, y'all podcast bros, you saw your mama not have a man. You saw your dad, your aunties not have a man, your school teachers. Is that what you want? Is that what you want, for them to not be partnered? While you have the selection, a plethora, but they're not partnered.
Yeah.
So I would like for us to just simply expand as women, as black women.
I think I'm finna expand, Naja. You done
I
learned
hope that
me
anybody that's
something.
within the sound of my voice is open to expansion, because you'll see that they ain't that different. Like I said in the beginning about the blended families that I work with, everybody is crazy as a hell. And white boys crazy, Asian boys crazy, Middle Eastern boys crazy, Pacific Islander, Asian crazy too. Like, it's about learning, culturally speaking, like having the desire. Like I was talking about that family that
Mhm.
has a desire to solve their differences,
Yeah,
having the desire to say, okay, let's kind of understand each other.
yeah,
Culturally, we don't speak the same, we don't have the same thing, but we know that love is in place and love is a
yeah.
center. I firmly believe that. So
Yes. Okay, well, thank you so much again, Naja, for coming on. Tell
thank
people how
you.
they can reach you.
Yes. So first and foremost, you can go to najahall.com. Every single thing that I do, my website is my hub. You can go to najahall.com. You can find me on the internet. If you are in a blended family, you can go to Blended in Black. If you are a stepmom, I do have a very stepmom specific platform called VIP Stepmom. Check her out. I welcome everybody. My podcast is called I Know I'm Crazy with Naja Hall. We post new episodes on Tuesdays. I have Naja Hall Beauty. I don't have like makeup on right now, but I love colors.
Actually,
Like,
you I just look.
yeah, thank you so much. But I do have skincare. Like, I'm firm on skincare. Like, I'm dedicated to all of the things. So if you go to najahall.com, you can just find me everywhere in all of the things I do. And I would just really appreciate it if you all follow me and subscribe to my YouTube, TikTok, Insta, Facebook, Threads, anywhere that you spend your time. I promise you I'm there. So please find me and thank you.
Yes,
And say hello when you do find me,
yes. Say hello,
because I
hello.
interact and I follow back.
Yes, she does. And make sure you guys check out Cocktail Therapy. Go like, follow, all that good stuff over on YouTube and over on Facebook. Make sure y'all are following. And make sure y'all are also following the Cocktail Therapy Bartender Services brand as well. We air this every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. So make sure y'all check it out. Thank you guys so much for joining us for another episode. Bye.